An emergency phone call made by President Donald Trump's son, Barron Trump, is being used as evidence in a trial in the UK.
Barron Trump made the equivalent of a 911 call to British police around this time last year. The now 19-year-old told the operator a woman he knew was being assaulted in the UK and she needed immediate help.
Nobody expected Barron Trump to be connected to a courtroom drama halfway across the world. But when his voice suddenly appeared in official testimony about a violent attack caught on video call, judges, prosecutors, and even seasoned observers reportedly leaned forward because the youngest Trump had just stepped into a story no one saw coming. For years, Barron Trump stayed mostly out of the spotlight, almost like a mystery figure inside one of the most watched political families in modern history, rarely speaking publicly, rarely giving interviews, rarely appearing at campaign stops except during major moments. And that silence made what happened next feel even more surprising, because according to reporting from outlets like CBS News and ITV News, Barron ended up contacting police in the United Kingdom after witnessing a frightening situation unfold in real time during a FaceTime call with a woman he knew, and that single decision, to call authorities from another country, would later echo inside a courtroom thousands of miles away, instantly turning a private moment into something much bigger than anyone expected. Reports say the situation started when Barron saw the woman being attacked during the call, and instead of freezing or ignoring what he saw, he contacted emergency services and told operators that she was getting beat up, stressing that it was urgent even while struggling to provide details quickly enough across international lines. And according to ITV News, his voice during the call was described in court as worried and urgent, which prosecutors later used as part of their timeline explaining how the attack was discovered so quickly. Now here's where things start to feel like something out of a scripted courtroom thriller, because once the case reached trial in London's Snaresbrook Crown Court, Barron's call wasn't just background information. It became part of the evidence jurors heard while deciding what really happened that night, and suddenly the youngest member of the Trump family was connected to testimony being discussed in front of a judge and jury in a completely different country. According to The Guardian and ABC reporting, the defendant in the case was later found guilty of assault after the events Barron reported helped authorities respond quickly to the incident. And while Barron himself wasn't physically sitting inside the courtroom delivering dramatic speeches like viral thumbnails suggest, his role still became part of official proceedings in a way that surprised observers because he had never previously been known for involvement in legal matters like this. What made the moment even more unusual was how rare it is for someone in Barron's position, someone who has spent most of his life deliberately staying out of headlines, to suddenly appear in court-related reporting connected to an international criminal case, and that contrast alone fueled intense online curiosity as people started asking the same question: how did Barron Trump end up here? According to CBS News, transcripts presented to the court showed Barron telling emergency operators he had met the woman on social media and that the situation he saw looked serious enough that he felt he had to act immediately, and that decision ended up becoming one of the early warning signals investigators relied on while building the timeline of the attack, which later became central to the prosecution's case. But if you thought that was the only surprising part of the story, there's another twist that made headlines even bigger, because during the trial, a judge reportedly warned jurors to treat Barron's account carefully since he was a friend of the alleged victim, meaning his perspective could be influenced by that relationship, a reminder that even high-profile witnesses aren't automatically treated as unquestioned sources inside courtrooms, something People magazine highlighted when reporting on the judge's caution to jurors about relying too heavily on his account alone. And suddenly, what started as a late-night emergency call became something else entirely. A real example of how someone who rarely speaks publicly could still become part of a legal story with international attention. As news of the case spread, fans and commentators online began speculating whether this meant Barron might take on a larger public role in the future, especially since his appearances had already been increasing slowly after the 2024 election cycle, including attending campaign events and being credited by family members with suggesting influencer outreach strategies that reportedly helped connect with younger audiences, according to summaries compiled by multiple outlets tracking his recent public presence. Still, what made the courtroom connection stand out wasn't politics. It was the unexpected reality that a young man known mostly for staying quiet had suddenly taken action in a moment that investigators later discussed in court, which added a new layer to how people viewed him. Then came another surprise development that kept his name circulating in headlines even after the trial coverage slowed down. because according to the New York Post, Barron became involved in launching a beverage startup called Solos Yerba Mate Inc., reportedly helping raise investment funding while studying at NYU's Stern School of Business, signaling that he might be leaning toward business rather than politics despite the speculation surrounding his family background. That contrast between courtroom-related reporting on one side and entrepreneurial activity on the other created an unusual public narrative. Was Barron stepping into a more visible role, or was this simply a rare moment when circumstances pushed him temporarily into headlines? And here's where the story becomes even more interesting, because according to factually and related reporting summaries, Barron has remained one of the most private members of the Trump family, despite occasional appearances during campaign events and inauguration ceremonies, which means each time his name surfaces in news coverage, it instantly attracts more attention than usual, simply because people aren't used to hearing about him. That's why when viral videos started appearing online claiming he delivered dramatic testimony that silenced the courtroom, many viewers assumed something huge must have happened behind closed doors. But according to verified reporting, the real story was less theatrical and more human. A young man saw something alarming during a call and contacted authorities, and that decision later became part of a criminal case timeline examined in court. Even so, the internet doesn't always slow down for nuance, and once the idea of a courtroom moment started spreading, speculation followed quickly, with some commentators wondering whether this experience might influence Barron's future decisions about public life, especially as he continues his studies and business projects. According to ABC coverage and related reporting, Barron has occasionally been credited with influencing media strategy decisions during his father's campaign outreach to younger audiences, but he has not taken on an official political role, which makes moments like this courtroom connection feel even more unexpected because they happen outside the usual campaign spotlight people associate with the Trump name. And that's what makes this story so fascinating when you look at it closely. It's not about dramatic speeches inside a courtroom. It's about how a single phone call during a video chat traveled across continents and ended up being discussed in a legal proceeding that captured international attention. In the end, what really stands out isn't a scripted Hollywood-style revelation. It's the reminder that sometimes the most surprising courtroom moments start long before anyone steps inside the building. Barron Trump's role in reporting what he saw helped authorities respond quickly to a dangerous situation, and that alone turned a quiet, private moment into a public headline seen around the world. So now the real question people keep asking is this: was this just a one-time moment that briefly pulled Barron into the spotlight, or the beginning of a more visible chapter in his story that we're only starting to see unfold? Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for the next story everyone will be talking about.